Alright, let's officially start the August vlog. It is August 10th, which means, I don't know, why do I keep telling people that I have rules for these vlogs? I don't know, I just like to start on even numbers and they go for 10 days. But it's August and I'm reading something new than I was reading in the last vlog, so let's crack on, shall we? This vlog is going to be less of a writing vlog, more of a reading vlog, hopefully. But I have been playing a lot of Grimshire lately, and I'm determined to see the early access playthrough through, which I think I still have like another, I would say 20 to 25 hours to play, and it has been consuming my life. However, I am feeling the itch to do something different, so we'll see. We'll see if I get more reading done in the next 10 days. I'm taking a little bit of a fantasy break, not it wasn't planned at all, that just seems to be what's happening. So maybe this vlog will be a little bit more horror, because that seems to be where we're going. I have started the Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is my first Grady Hendrix book. I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it. So it's not going to be like a 5-star read for me, even a 4-star read. At the moment, it's probably going to be around a 3.5. I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to reread it. But we are following Fern, who has, well, a group of girls really, but we are introduced to Fern's character, who goes by a different name initially, but you can't use your real name in the establishment that we're in, which I've forgotten the name of. I'm halfway in. That bodes well. This is why it's 3.5, not 5 stars. We follow her as she gets taken to this home for wayward girls, essentially. These girls have become pregnant, and their parents have essentially said that that's a disappointment to me. You'll not be having this child. I'm going to send you to this home where you will go through your pregnancy and then give up your baby for adoption. There are some interesting conversations around feminism, self-control, like in terms of these girls don't have any. They are being controlled and manipulated by the people around them, and taking that back, which is the element that I'm quite enjoying in this book so far. But we're following Fern and her group of friends as she goes to this home, and they want to take a piece of their control back for themselves, and they meet up with the librarian, pesky librarian, who gives them a book of witchcraft, and that's where I am at the moment. I am enjoying the writing style. It's very easy to get into, which I think is what my brain needs right now. And yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I'll give you some more thoughts on it. Very quick to read. I'm at the halfway mark. I fully expect I'll finish that one in this vlog. The other thing I'm reading at the moment is When the Wolf Comes Home, I think it is, by Nat Cassidy. I've just started this one, about 10% of the way in. Very well written. I think this one will end up higher than a 3.5, and we get like this glimpse, this horrific glimpse of this young boy who is running and hiding from his father. He's got a book clutched to him because he's not really allowed to see the outside world. He keeps getting scolded because he gets outside to see the things that he's seeing in the book, so things like birds, where he's just not allowed to go out. And we get this sense of fear. He does fear his dad, and that's been portrayed quite well. Also very easy to follow. We're also following another storyline with a young woman, 31 years, who has a chance encounter with this kid, and that's pretty much where I'm up to at the moment. I don't know very much about the book. Couldn't even tell you the blurb, but I've gone into it relatively blind because I want to be entertained without any preconception of what's going on there. I think Nat Cassidy has the potential to be a favourite author of mine in like the modern horror sphere. So I'm going in blind to see if my assumption, which I've based on nothing, is correct. I just like the themes that he plays with thus far. So I know that in Mary, as an example, the theme is, and he did a lot of research for it, was the horror of women not being believed by going to the doctors and having doctors just tell them it's just XYZ and not being listened to, and really delving into the consequences of that, the horrific consequences of that in a horror setting, which I think is where horror gets to play with these real life concepts and delve into the horrific aspects of them. And with this one, it is based on fear. He is exploring fear, which is interesting thus far. Those are the two things I'm reading at the moment. I am dabbling in a third book called Kier's Fury, which is I'm doing it not, well, I will review it, but it is for the author. The author is a client of ours, and has asked me to read it just to see where I fit and where I land on my enjoyment of that book. So I'm doing that sporadically in e-copy. The book follows on from Godina, which I have reviewed in the past. The writing style is similar in terms of it's very tell, not show. So I've gone in with that mindset, and I think because I've gone in knowing that that is the way that this author writes, I'm able just to. It feels quite surface level because it's just telling and not showing, and that is similar here. Not that it's unenjoyable. I just know that my experience with this book is going to feel surface level thus far. I've only read about 7% of it so far. So next book that I might read in this is potentially The Long Walk by Stephen King, and that's again influenced by Ryan, not necessarily a mood read, but it wasn't on my TBR just because they are going to potentially read it for an upcoming podcast episode. I haven't read any Stephen King this year, I don't think. If I have, it was a short story collection, but I actually think I read that last year, and the years are all just blending into one. So we are having a discussion on Stephen King potentially in October, so it'd be nice to have read something by the author. Other than that, book stuff. This intro clip is so long. I apologize. Really quickly, book stuff, alpha. It's off with the editor, but there's a lot of like nitty gritty stuff that needs to happen. So this morning I put together the electronics, so the ebook pre-order, which is pending approvals by Amazon. Set up the KDP pages. Set up the ISBN. Had a Kiwi accent for a second there. ISBN for the ebook. I will do the paperback as well. Tomorrow I'm going to be writing the about this book page and the acknowledgements and potentially the copyright page as well. So there's little bits and pieces that are still happening. Once that's done, I'm pretty much ready to wait for Rachel to get back to me with the what I need to change in the copy edits. So I might go on to write my short story collection, which I had intended to be writing already. Apparently I just needed a break, and 28 hours of Grimshire in the last 2 weeks, which is insane for me personally. Anyway, that's it. Today I need to go and get the groceries. Oh, there will be a bit of cooking in this vlog as well. Nutrition is normally one of the things that just goes out the window when my brain is not feeling it, but I made myself come up with a menu this week because I need to be eating more plant-based. So there will be some vegan cooking happening in this vlog as well. That's it for now. Cue B-roll. I'll catch you in the next update. Hello everyone, it is Monday morning. I have so many things that I would like to get done today. I have no idea how much is going to happen. But it is sunny outside, which is fantastic. It's been raining so much here in Perth, so I went for a walk with the dogs. I'm probably going to take them to the park later, just in case rain happens again. Not that I've looked at any sort of weather updates, but that seems to be the pattern. 2 days of sun, rain for 5, and it's ridiculous. Anyway, so it's currently about 8:30 in the morning. I just got off a meeting for work, just had like an anomaly meeting for an hour or so about a new program coming in. I'm going to go and work out and then eat breakfast, get coffee, drink water, because I didn't drink enough of that yesterday, and my skin is paying the price. Disgusting. And I think I'm going to rearrange this shelf. That was not on the agenda for today. On the agenda for today was to do all my admin pages for the book, and plan some content. This shelf is the one that seems to be most in the shot for the videos, though, and I'm an indie channel, and none of this bitch is indie or self-pub. They're all over on this shelf, which, now that I film sort of this way, and you see these two shelves, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. So I'm going to try and move the indie stuff to this one. The problem with this one is it's quite a cheap IKEA shelf, so like the risk of it bowing because of that, and all these indies are like mostly hardbacks. I don't know. Well, I just have to deal with a bowing shelf because the color scheme is already kind of fucked. I like it. I know it offends other people's sensibilities. But, like, this, then with the smaller brown one, it'll be even more fucked if I fuck with the levelings. Because right now, I don't even see it. It goes down. I don't want it to be, like, down, up. The feng shui will be off. Anyway, potentially I'll do that, which gives me an excuse to listen to When the Wolf Comes Home from that Cassidy. I also wanted to watch the movie Queer with Daniel Craig in it by A22, because that's just come out on one of the streaming services we pay for. I don't know. I don't have a plan. But I think the bookshelf thing is going to happen because that is what is calling to my heart right now. But I'll check in with you later and see if that's a thing. Working at home is so relaxing. Right, it is 12:30-ish. I put on dinner. I'm making vegan pho, the Vietnamese soup that I can't pronounce. And we have an indie shelf, except for Jaws. Ignore Jaws, I just didn't have it anywhere else to put it. I suppose I could put it up there. But I had like that much space exactly. Where am I pointing? Here, on the indie shelf, and it just fit. So this entire shelf is now indie, and you should be able to see it in the videos. Mission success. Well, kind of. There's a shelf of double stacked. Double stacked? We don't talk about double stacked shelves. Anyway. Also, now done. I'm going to do literally anything else now. Hello everyone, it is Wednesday the 13th, and by some miracle I've done some reading, so we'll do an update. It's currently 5:18 in the afternoon. I finished work. I have some book news, which I'll get to after I do a bit of a reading update. So, the three things that I am reading, one being the Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I'm about 65%, I would say, of the way through this one now, so well and truly into the story. Had a couple of graphic, horror, body horror scenes in here, which was interesting. I think at the moment, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the writing style. It's fairly simplistic, in my opinion, for my tastes, but I'm having a good time with it. Probably sitting around a 3.5. I don't see it going above a 3.5 unless it gets truly wild in, the last 200 or so pages, or 170 pages, or whatnot. So we now have the girls coming to the end, the group of girls that we're following are coming to the end of their pregnancies, and they are using witchcraft to try and get back at some of the people who they feel have wronged them in various ways, and it's having some disastrous consequences. We are now at the point of the story, and I'm trying to make it vague and non-spoilery, where some of those consequences are going to have longer term effects for them and some of the girls that we are following in here. One of the girls in particular, Holly, has a really just the backstory there. I would check your trigger warnings because it is not nice, and probably not nice for what people want to go ahead and read. But I am enjoying the writing style of it. It's certainly not going to be my last Grady Hendrix. It has intrigued me enough to go ahead and pick up another one of his books. I think I have my best friend's exorcism down here in my try chapter pile, which I still haven't tried any chapters, so I'll probably give that one a go. But I think that one is more of a slasher, which is not usually my jam. But this one has intrigued me enough. So 60% of the way through that. I am enjoying it. I will probably finish this one, I would like to say, on Friday or Saturday, because I do want to move on to Stephen King to talk about that on the podcast with Ryan in a little bit. The other book that I am reading is When the Wolf Comes Home. Ignore, I just spilt heaps of water on myself, on my stomach, and that looks horrific. Also, next door has decided now is the time to mow, so I apologise for any of that noise. Hopefully it's not picking up too much in here. But I am 51% of When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and this is really interesting because it's not super scary, but the subject matter that he's talking about in this book is fear, and specifically manifestations of fear in children and how they deal with it, and also how adults deal with fear from kids, and not necessarily being kind about it all the time, because we lose a lot of that fear as we grow up. And so fear about like Halloween decorations is a scene that I just read about or listened to about Halloween decorations. And like to us, it's silly, but in the view of a 5-year-old boy, those masks and those costumes can be terrifying. And sort of the conversations that we have with children around fear and how they build their fear based on the world around them. And it's quite fascinating for a book which can be read and enjoyed at surface level, but then again does invite the reader to do some internal reflections if you want to. It's not necessary. But what I'm gathering from just other Nat Cassidy fans and Nat Cassidy books that are out there that I haven't read yet is that this seems to be fairly common for his works, is that you were invited to dig a little bit deeper into the meanings and the thought processes behind the subject matter, while also being quite enjoyable just at the surface level. I will say that the writing style of this one feels more mature than Grady Hendrix, even though some of the subject matter isn't necessarily more mature than the Grady Hendrix book. So it's interesting to read two horrors at the same time. It's been a very long time since I've read a horror, like more than one horror at any given time. I've probably read a little bit more horror this year than I have in recent years, but maybe that was last year. 2024, 2025 are really melding into one for me at the moment. But anyway, regardless, I'm having a good time with both. Now, I am 20%, 19 to 20% of the way through Kier's Fury by Stepan Kobets, and this is the sequel to Gordina, which I read a couple of years ago, and this is interesting. I'm enjoying this one a little bit more than I enjoyed the first book, and I don't want to give too many spoilers away because it is a book 2. I don't know if anyone is interested in this series, but it's military sci-fi, and in the first book I felt both books are very tell don't show, and I think if you can get past that, there is a story underlining that. Some people don't like tell don't show. I personally can get on board with it because I'm not a character-driven reader, and if there's enough information being given to me, then sometimes it's okay for me. But it is something that I don't love, but I can get on board with for the sake of, like, it won't ruin my whole reading experience. In this book, we're following some of the characters from book 1. So in book 1, there was a rescue mission staged on the planet Gordina to rescue one of the characters who seems to be one of the main focus points in this book. And we're following her character as she goes back to the planet Gordina with an excavation team. And there are some higher military machinations afoot in the galaxy, which, it's building up to potentially fuck all of their shit up on the planet Gordina and the wider galaxy as well. So it is okay. I'm enjoying my time with it enough to keep going, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the reading updates. A quick update on my book, as I'm doing little bits and bobs in the background. I now have the pre-order page up on Amazon, which is cool. It's up on Goodreads, but I tried to claim it as an author and it wouldn't let me, because my information is for a fictional escapist, not KD Marchesi, which is my author name. So I need to change things. I also need an author website. So I bought a domain name last night, which is just kdmarchesi.com. And I need to make a landing page so that it can link to Goodreads. And then hopefully, once that is done, I can claim the book and start advertising for it. So, update on the schedule there. I think I said it in the last vlog, is we're looking at a November release with arcs, which won't be proofread yet. It'll still be going through proofreading at that stage, but hopefully they'll be out late September. So, that is the update for now. I do not know how much reading is going to get done this evening, because I'm going to be focusing on the website and just trying to get a web page, landing page done up fairly quickly so I can go ahead and claim that book on Goodreads. Anyway, that is it for now. Rachel's also coming home. She said she had a long day, so I'm going to go draw her a bath and then get cracking on the website. But I'll catch you in the next update. Hello, it is Thursday night, the 14th, I think, question mark, I'm terrible at staying up late. It's like 9:39. I just finished Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I don't have many more thoughts. I think like the witchy part of it sort of dropped off around that 60% mark, and then it sort of came back towards the end. My favorite part of the book was the acknowledgements. That is not uncommon for me, where you get a little bit of context, and I like that Grady Hendrix gave us a little bit of context as to why he was writing this book. And like in the acknowledgements, he says that, I shouldn't be writing about, or you wouldn't expect a middle-aged childless man to be writing about women and pregnancy. So just for context from the acknowledgements, this was written because he was dealing with some feelings about two women in his life who were sent to maternity camps or maternity buildings where women were sent between, I think it was 1945 to 1973, if I'm remembering the details correctly of the acknowledgements. And they were just places where women went, and the blame was all on women about their pregnancies, and they went to these homes to have the babies and give them up for adoption. And that is the base of this story, which I thought was horrific and interesting. So I liked it. I liked the writing. I did question at points, like, why is this guy writing about it? So I am glad that was in the acknowledgement sections. It pays to read it and to find out a little bit more. I will read another Grady Hendrix book. The writing was fine. The storytelling was entertaining enough. Was it all about witchcraft? I think the thing that's, I guess, sticking in my craw a little bit is I think it was trying to do something more profound towards the end to get you to think about the realities of these girls and what is happening to these girls. But it sort of left that too late, in my opinion. So we had these like little pockets of moments where you would think about these kids, because none of them were over the age of 17, and how they're treated and how they're looked down upon, and there were just little snippets of it. And I guess looking back on it now, there was like little bits and pieces of that in the earlier book, but not enough for me to like grasp it and go, okay, there's a deeper meaning here, right until the very end. And I guess because I am someone who likes to delve into reads a little bit and look for that deeper meaning, maybe it's just me, maybe it's a me thing. But anyway, I finished it. I liked it enough to try another book from this author. That heavy breathing is Valerie snoring. And speaking of snoring, I'm going to bed. So I will probably pick up something else tomorrow. Maybe I'll see how far I get in Kier's Fury. I don't know. Good morning, team. It is Sunday the 17th. I've just done a quick writing sprint waiting for Rachel to go to get an MRI just to check out that her migraines aren't anything more sinister. We don't think they are. Doctors don't think they are, but just to be safe. They were very lucky in Australia that they bulk bill these procedures. They can get one done per year, so we're not out of pocket. We just pay for it with tax in the Medicare levy. So I just finished a quick writing sprint, and I put more words than I thought, probably about 1,000 words, into my short story collection. I've just finished the first interlude. This is very different. It's very different to what I am working on with Alpha, which I will go back to tomorrow to finish off the copyright page, and also the acknowledgements, and then send the updated file to Rachel. This one is more of a philosophical novella exploring the stages of grief, and it is incorporating, I guess, my own thoughts and journey with spirituality, more so than religion. I'm not overly religious, but I would say, more spiritual than pertaining to any one deity. And also just the complicated emotions that come with grief and working through those stages. It's also quite interesting because I am in people leadership, and I talk about things like de-racking when you give people feedback, which is the journey that people tend to go on when you give them what's called developmental feedback, and people can see that as negative. And it's a whole cycle, and it's very similar to the cycle that people go through with grief. So the idea behind this one is it's a collection of short stories, and then each short story pertains to one particular part of that cycle when going through grief. So the first one is denial, and the story that I've written is about a mother in a small town who is basically saying that none of the things that are obviously happening are happening, and trying to keep her daughters safe. But then that has consequences, and the daughter is starting to realize that her mum just has her head in the sand. And what does she do in that instance? Because she obviously doesn't want to make her life any harder for her mother, but things are happening around her which indicate the end of the world is coming. So, sorry, this is also dystopian, and it's sort of getting into what will become the apocalypse, which is, it's been an interesting shift, like tonal shift from Alpha, which is very action heavy and more character focused, and this is more sort of introspective. So I just did the interlude. So the whole story, so the interludes will tie the whole book together, where we are following the last angel of death who has been tasked with the end of the world. He takes a very passive role in it. He's just following them and making sure that things are happening the way they're expected to happen, but he cannot intervene in any huge way. He just needs to watch. He does one final walk through the entirety of the world, so each story takes part in a different place. And yeah, it's just, it's been a fun project. I had no idea when this one will come out. I don't think it'll be the same release style as I'm doing with Alpha, because, both stories are just for me. But anyway, that's a bit of an update on what I'm writing. Reading updates I will give you later. I have read up to 60% of Kier's Fury, and also 75% of When the Wolf Comes Home. So I'll update you on that later. Right now my arm is tired from holding up the camera. Hello everybody, it is Monday the 18th, and I apologise for the dishevelled, scantily cladness of this clip, but if I don't talk to you now, I'm going to fucking forget again. So, I did have reading updates, which I forgot to record yesterday, or the day before, I don't know at this point, about Kier's Fury and When the Wolf Comes Home. So, we will start with Kier's Fury, which is by Stepan Kovacs. It's book 2, and I think it's the Godina Complex. I'm not sure what the series is called, but it follows on from Godina. With this book, and it took me a while to get my bearings here because there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of planets, a lot of different people that we're following, and it's like this. We're building up to what feels like this intergalactic war is happening. So sort of military, sci-fi, space opera-esque. I don't want to give too much away from the first book, but events unfold in the first book, and we're following a rescue mission with a band of prisoners from this most high-level security prison, and we get the people who are going on this suicide rescue mission from this prison because they've got nothing left to live for, essentially, so we're going to go and get them. Things unfold in the first book, and the second book, Kier's Fury, follows on from one of the characters that we were stage 2, almost said spoilers. It follows on from a set of characters. Now, our band of prisoners have been split up a little bit, and we're following different sort of pockets of them as they move through the galaxy building up to this war. So we go back to planet Godina, which is now being used as an excavation site. You need high-level security clearance to be able to go and dig there, and we find some original beings from that planet which have been preserved for the last 2,000 years. On the other end of that, we have the uprising of the Alturum, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, Empire, who is looking to conquer the entire galaxy. And chaos is sort of unfolding from there. Now, again, it is a book 2, so I don't want to give too much away here, but I'm at about 80%. I think I got to 80% last night of the way through, and things are really ramping up for the different sides of this battle. What I will say is this story, it's a translated work, and I find the writing style to be extremely literal. So if you go in knowing that, and it's very sort of tell, not show as the storytelling style, it is still quite... I'm enjoying my time here because of the complexity. I reckon it's probably going to hit around a 3-star for me. I'm enjoying my time. I'm not mad that I read it. I probably am not going to go and read it again. But what I will say is I think that the author has done quite a good job of moving this focus from book 1, which was very much a sort of good versus evil storytelling style where we're following 2 very clear sides, to giving these characters more depth and more the multifaceted nature of humanity, where most of us aren't good or evil, there is definitely areas of grayness. And I think what Stepan has done quite well in this book is to say, yes, they had clear motivations in book one, but they are actually more complex than this, the simple storytelling style of good versus evil, and everyone is working to their own agenda. And I think that's been quite interesting to see the shift from book one to book two here. And I will also say that the amount of head hopping and character that we need to keep track of has been done satisfactorily in this book, to my satisfaction anyway, because there's a lot of moving around that happens here. I think I would probably benefit from like a physical read and having a map of like the galaxy so I could see where the different planets were that we were heading to, because every chapter is like a new planet or a new section on that planet. So I've enjoyed myself so far with it. I hope I will finish it today, if not tomorrow. I've only got 20% left to go, but it is a day off today, and I've got quite a lot of things on my plate. So we'll see. Potentially, it's not undoable, but we're just going to take the day as it comes. The other book that I've been reading is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and I'm at 78% of this one, and I probably will finish this one tomorrow, driving to and from the office. This has been a really enjoyable experience, and it makes me look forward to reading more of Nat Cassidy's stuff. We are following Jessica and the boy who is nicknamed Kiddo for this book, and this kid has powers that can manifest his fear in very live ways, and it has like disastrous consequences. And it is really heartwarming that this adult character, Jess, who is 31, doesn't have kids of her own, doesn't have a relationship, but she is taken by this little boy who is in need of help one night, and she has never given up on him, regardless of how frustrated she is at the situations that this kid is inadvertently putting them in, and reassuring this child that it's not his fault. He is not bad. There are things around him which are happening, which are of no control to this little boy. And that is what I'm really taking away from this story, is just humanity and how humbling it can be to need to look after someone who is smaller but bigger than yourself in, I guess, a philosophical sense. While that being said, there is also like some horrific shit happening in the background because it is a horror story, and I think it does delve into the amalgamation of fear for individuals and how we perceive that. So it is something that is making me think while also being quite entertaining on the surface, and the writing is quite snappy. There's a little bit of repetition which I haven't like loved, but that's a me thing. I don't love repetition in my reads, so I know that if there's repetition in books, that is going to irk me, but I can also like objectively say that's a me thing. There are things in here which require the repetition because it is a child, and that is somehow that is how children think, or at least children that have been in my life have thought the whys and things like that. So I don't know. I'm having a really good time with it, and I definitely will be picking up another Nat Cassidy, hopefully in the near future. I mean, spooky season is coming up. I have Mary on the bookshelf, so we'll see how that goes. In terms of writing, also sorry about the heavy breathing. I just worked out, so apologies. In terms of writing, I may get a writing sprint in today on the short story collection. I'm moving into the second short story of the collection here, which is the second level of grief, which I think is pain/guilt. And I've got an idea of what I want to write for that one. I have an idea what I want to write for all of them. I think it's either the fourth or the fifth story, which is the turning a path stage of grief, which is probably going to give me the most trouble because there are no humans in it. So I also don't know whether I want to try second person, just as a bit of a challenge. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But for today, I know what I'm going to do. However, I do want to get an updated manuscript to Rachel with the acknowledgements and the about this book and potentially the copyright page in there. So that would mean I need to write the copyright page, which there are guides for those sort of things, and finish the acknowledgement section. So that is also potentially on the cards. I have a counselling appointment this morning. So as a manager, we are able to access like counselling appointments for managers to work through stuff if we need to. So I'll be doing that in an hour or so. Chase up the broken binding because one of my packages has been in customs for 3 weeks. So I don't know what's going on there, but that also needs to be done today. Other than that, I'm getting groceries. That's exciting. I'm eating. Anyway, no one cares anymore. I will talk to you when I have another update. Okay, bye. I need everyone to watch the video that I put together about cozy games and reading, because that fucker just took me 4.5 hours to edit. Even if you're not a gamer, please. Anyway, it's now done. It is probably the most involved video that I've ever done. Ever. I'm looking at it trying to download to my computer and I am nervous. Anyway, that's all. I haven't read anything else today because that's just taken up my whole life. Hello team, it is Thursday the 19th. I think we're going to end the vlog a day early because I have finished the 2 books that I was planning on reading, which was Kris Fury by Stepan Kobets and also When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. So I finished both. I finished Kris Fury last night and I finished When the Wolf Comes Home today. So we'll do some final thoughts and then we'll end it for today because we managed to finish it. Feels like a nice clean ending. Also, there is so much happening in this house right now, so I'm wearing this, but I don't know how much this is going to pick up of like the washing machine and the dogs going in and out of the doors because of dinner time and things like that. So apologies if the audio is a mess. So I finished Kris Fury. We sort of got to like the penultimate chapter and the setup for the next book last night. I finished it. I've read late twice in this vlog, which is not something I normally do, but I finished the book at like 10:30, I want to say, which is late for me personally. And I will say I got a bit lost in like the last chapter just because of all the moving parts. Like every page and a half to 3 pages, it would switch to a different part of this galaxy and like the battle that we were having. And it did move very fast and it felt quite choppy, that last bit. But there was a moment right at the end where one of the characters was like uncovered to be someone that we were fighting the whole time. And that was a bit of a moment for me. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that character in the next book. Overall thoughts is it was fine. It is a story told in a certain style, so quite literal in its storytelling, but I had an okay time with it, so not mad that I read it by any means. And the other one was When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, so I finished the last, let's say 25% of it today, just walking the dogs and driving to and from work. And yeah, I had a really good time with this one, probably ending at about a 4-star. I always find it fascinating, like about the book sections or the like author's notes at the end to give context to stories that are quite thematically heavy, and this one was no different, so I appreciated the insight into the subject matter that we had here. But there were also a couple of twists and turns. Like by the end of it, I suspected the twist that happened was going to happen, but I still enjoyed it anyway. Big fan of Nat Cassidy's writing, so I'm looking forward to picking up another book by him. He essentially said that you can read the 3 books that he currently has out and a novella, but the novella aside, you can kind of read the 3 books that he has out, which is Mary, Nestlings, and When the Wolf Comes Home, as a trilogy of sorts. Not that the stories are intertwined anyway, they're all standalones, but they all have a subject matter which is something that he's dealt with personally, and he had to get his feelings out onto the page. So with that in mind, I am quite interested in reading the other 2 books, because I think the themes of fear and how that manifests between, from children into adulthood, and some of the messages that we are told about fear, how our own fears come into fruition throughout our ages and our lives was interesting. So had a good time with that one as well. Yeah, that is it for the vlog. So we finished the 3 things that I started to read, which was fantastic. I'm having a pretty good reading month this month, but I've taken the pressure of writing off, really. I will need to get back into doing some of the admin-y stuff for the book, in terms of I now have a Goodreads page up, Pre-orders for the ebook are now up, but I do want to get the pre-orders for the paperback done. I want to get the copyright page done, which I still haven't finalized. I need to do like an about the author section. I need to look at Ingram Sparks. There's little bits and pieces that need to be done, which I'd like to sort of get done by the end of the month. So we'll see how we go. In terms of my reading now, I think I'm just going to change. I'm just going to jump a little bit. I sent a photo to Faye last night and I asked for some help over at Books and Chocoholic. It's like, hey, you liked all of these. Help me. Pick one. And she picked The Night's Rain because I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I'm definitely feeling something written by not a dude. So I just sent a photo of like all my books that I had written by not men, and this one won. So this was initially going to be a 2026 read series for me, but it's on the list. I'm going to give this one a go. So I'll be picking this one up next. Hopefully I'll still get to the end, the last book in the MA character Rook and Rose series, which I think is Labyrinth's Knot, something like that. No, Labyrinth's something. I don't know. I don't have my glasses on. Labyrinth's Heart over there. So if I can finish that one in the next 6 days or so, I'll start that one. But I am going to pick up a historical fiction audiobook by an author who I've been seeing around a little bit. Some people that I trust really like this author's writing, so I think it will work for me as well. So I'm also going to be listening to The Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa C. I'll put the cover up here. And it sounds quite intriguing about a couple of women who were born in China, and they sort of grow up together and go in very different directions with their lives. So looking forward to that. I do enjoy delving into Chinese history. I learnt Chinese and Mandarin for 8 years, and it just sort of fascinates me. I did Asian studies as one of my undergrad degrees, like international studies, with the major was in Asian politics. So it's always fascinating to get that sort of take on stories. Anyway, that was it for the update. That's it for the vlog. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.